Yo, welcome to the show, BroMob. I'm your host, Chad. Brian is nowhere to be found, thank God. And this is the Fantasy Football Bros. Today is actually Tuesday, the 18th of August. We slacked off a little bit, didn't get the episode on time for Monday's release. But BroMob, we did not forget about you. We're here, aka I'm here. Brian's nowhere to be found because he doesn't know how to handle technology, guys. He doesn't get the onesie, twosie, threesies, right? Actually, it's more like ones and zeros. I don't even know what I'm talking about. He's out in travel. He's actually coming here to conduct our home fantasy drafts, our league of record. We're actually having our live drafts this week for our dynasty league, our league of record. I can't be more excited. He's going to do terrible. I'm so prepared. He's never prepared. He's the worst. I'm the best. Mainly because, I mean, look at it right now. I'm on the episode. He's nowhere to be found. So he can't argue. He can't argue this point right now. So BroMob, welcome in. Trickle on into the show here. We've got a lot to discuss. Actually, it's going to be a short one, but it's going to be jam-packed with knowledge, with some great information. We're talking how to fix a bad draft today. So, I mean, it's big. We're talking draft season is happening right now. This weekend, next weekend, the first weekend of September, in the thick of it. Fantasy drafts happening all over the place. So if you feel like you drafted a stinker, that's okay because we're here to give you some thinkers. That's right. I'm still witty without them, BroMob. So without further ado, let's get into this. But first, we're talking fantasy drafts. I'm getting excited. You guys are getting excited. Guess what? We still have open entries for the Underground League. Get out to our website, thefantasyfootballbros.com today. Enter your name, your email, your Twitter handle if you have one, all of that information. It's all in there. And let us know why you think you deserve to be in this league. Let us know if you have the cojones to destroy us, to destroy Brian, to take on me, to win this on. I mean, I got the trophy from last time. I mean, I got it right here. I'm pulling it up. It's always right next to me. Boom. Got the trophy. If you're watching me on YouTube, I'm flaunting it. It's feeling nice. I'm feeling good about it. And you know what? See if you can take it from me, BroMob. If you win, you get your own trophy. You get to make fun of everybody at home saying, hey, look, we beat the bros, right? We took them on. We destroyed them. So get out there, thefantasyfootballbros.com. Look for the Underground League and sign up to enter today. Don't forget, BroMob, key to the title. It's out there. It's draft season. Key to the title is the one-stop shop for all things dominating fantasy football. Get out there, keytothetitle.com today to get the pristine draft kit, the best out there. $14.99 gets you everything you need. We're talking tiered rankings. We're talking advanced analytics, things like strength of schedule, things like red zone statistics, things. I mean, it's out of this world. There's too much to even list. I can't even think of it off the top of my head. There's so much to discuss, so much to pull out and to just dominate your draft. So get out there, keytothetitle.com today and give it a purchase, BroMob. You will not regret it. Moving on. I mean, before we get into the show, be sure to follow us on Twitter and on Instagram at FF Bros Podcast, and check out our TikTok page at Fantasy Football Bros. We've got a whole lot of stuff going on. I mean, we're pumping out content like crazy on there. So if you're not there, you're missing out, BroMob. Check out our website, thefantasyfootballbros.com, for all kinds of articles, rankings. The articles, we got ourselves a fantastic writer in Zach Kaminsky, WanFanFootball, at WanFanFootball is his Twitter handle. He's pumping out some great content. We got a new article coming out this week from him actually talking about draft strategies and goes into really big depth into which he prefers and what you BroMob should be going out there and doing yourself. So keep an eye out for that at thefantasyfootballbros.com. And be sure to subscribe wherever you are. If you're listening to us on Apple Podcast, on YouTube, wherever it is, subscribe. Be the first one to listen to this show out of all your friends, family, whatever it may be. We are everywhere. Everyone's listening in. We're hoping to help you guys out. Be the first one to listen. Without further ado, BroMob, we're going to get right into this and start off with some fancy dancy news. All right. So lots of news this week. After a hard shot at practice, this is a big one. Nick Chubb, the running back for the Cleveland Browns, being evaluated for a concussion. So we're keeping an eye on this. It said that he actually walked out of practice. He looked fine, but they're going to go ahead and evaluate him. If there's a concussion there, it's worth noting that concussions tend to linger and they can reoccur. So keeping an eye on that for you, BroMob, and we'll let you know what's going on. The big news, the big thing to take from this is that Kareem Hunt is that much more valuable to you as a handcuff in your drafts this year. So if he's going in the 8th, it might be worth jumping around, grabbing him in the 7th, or just waiting out. Kareem Hunt could be big, just saying. So moving on, George Kittle signs a massive record deal. Not a record deal as in like music or anything, but like a record breaking deal. $15 million a year, a 5-year, $75 million contract. This is insanity. So insane that, in fact, Travis Kelce himself right afterwards got a contract extension himself for a little bit over $14 million a year. So resetting the market, tight ends finally getting the pay that they deserve and how important they are to the offense. And who better to get it than George Kittle, one of the best players at any position in the league. Matt Nagy was quoted this week mentioning that he wants to get his running backs more involved in his offense. So he's mentioning that he's got a lot of talent back there. He's got these weapons. They need to start using them more. It sounds like he's looking to get his offense a little bit more dynamic and a little bit more creative than they were last year. Maybe this is the Matt Nagy that we're going to see from his first year with Chicago, where things were a lot more exciting. So if that is the case, we got David Montgomery, Tariq Cohen was able to put up some really, really good fantasy stats in that year. So I'm really looking forward to a possible renaissance in this offense. Matt Nagy he's a very smart offensive mind. I just think maybe things got a little too cute, or maybe he got a little too scared because of his QB situation. So we'll see what happens. Worth keeping an eye on. I have been big on David Montgomery all offseason. Still am to this point, and I believe that Tariq Cohen might be worth a very late round flyer, which he currently is already, but worth a flyer there in half point and full point per reception leagues. Moving on, the 49ers wide receiver Jalen Hurd appears to have torn his ACL. It's not confirmed yet, but he is getting an MRI to check that out. Kind of hurts for a big type of small breakout season from him. A lot of people were hoping for him to kind of step in after Deebo Samuel's injury and kind of take over where Dante Pettis kind of gave up on last year. So injury kind of goes there. I'm really liking Brandon Ayuk the more and more that I'm looking at this offense, and I'm seeing targets going around. George Kittle's there, of course, but the number one wideout is easily a fight between Brandon Ayuk and Kendrick Bourne. So I have a lot of excitement. I saw him in practice already, catching some amazing passes already from Jimmy Garoppolo, some deep ones. So Brandon Ayuk, big. Kendrick Bourne, really big as well. He's going virtually undrafted in redraft leagues. So this is a guy who's out there almost every single play because his run blocking prowess is great. And they love to run the ball. And Kendrick Bourne's going to be used on third down situations. So, he's going to get used to keep the chains moving. So at least he's getting some catches and he's going to get some usage. So, he's scoring points in a week. So I like both of those guys at the beginning of the year, and possibly Brandon Ayuk for the remainder of the year. I really like the prospects there. Also big prospects. Dez Bryant, former wide receiver of the Dallas Cowboys, is going to be working out in Baltimore this week. Really exciting. So Baltimore, the team that really worked him out all back when he was released from Dallas or let go by Dallas. And they really offered him a contract back in the day, and he refused it. He said no, because at the time he believed he was worth more. And kind of lost his opportunity, signed with New Orleans and tore that Achilles, as we remember. So he's back. He's looking healthy. He's practicing a whole bunch, and we see some footage from his Twitter, from his Instagram. He's out there showing his route running, showing what he can do, and he's looking healthy. So, a connection with Lamar Jackson in the red zone would be kind of exciting to see there. I don't think he's a full-time wide receiver anymore, but even if he goes out there for a few touchdowns, if we're talking five or 600 yards in a season, 5 or 6 touchdowns in a season, he's a pretty serviceable flex play from matchups and stuff like that. So I'm liking the prospect there if he signs with the team. Otherwise, what's not to like about this offense? You got Mark Andrews there already. You've got Marquise Brown. There's a lot of excitement. So if you add him into the mix, even more excitement for Lamar Jackson to just be throwing lots of touchdowns this year. And then finally, probably the nicest, the greatest, the best news out there. Alex Smith, after absolutely ravaging and destroying his leg a few years back with the Washington football team, he is back. I mean, we're back to the point where he has been cleared for football activity. So this is insanity. He went from breaking a leg, getting sepsis in that leg, and almost dying because of it, to rehab for months and months and months, over a year of rehab, and back to a point where he can play football again. So this is huge. It's also really big for the team in terms of fantasy. So if Dwayne Haskins does not pan out, we've got Alex Smith there, possibly to take over from Case Keenum if he's not doing too, if that's not going too hot. And I mean, I like it. I like the comeback story of Alex Smith. If he can come back and stay healthy and be that backup to Dwayne Haskins, probably even coach him a little bit to try and help some of that turnover problems, that could be really big for this team. So, BroMob, that is it for this week's news. Let's get into this very, very awesome, very cool, how to fix your draft if you were to mess up strategy segment 1.0. 2, 3, 4. What? Let's get into it. Ooh, always love me a new drop. So, BroMob, you might be coming out of your draft thinking, man, I just drafted me a stinker. I've got nobody on my team. For some reason, I've drafted Le'Veon Bell in the first round. If I were to, have looked at Key to the Title, I would have known that was a bad decision. But because of that, now I'm looking really thin at running back, and I don't like my team. I don't like what's going on there. What am I supposed to do for the remainder of the season? So, BroMob, I'm here to help you with that. Two big things that I really emphasize. If you don't like your team, don't be afraid to start making moves immediately. So, I mean, right after the draft. So if you are done with your draft, you look at your team, you go, I don't like this at all. I'm too heavy on wideout, and I don't have enough running backs. That means there's going to be another team out there that feels the same way. Maybe they feel the opposite way, right? Maybe they feel I'm too heavy on running back, and I don't have enough wideout help. I'm a proponent for having everybody on your team is on the trading block. There's nobody on your team that's untouchable. And especially if you don't like your team, and this is just redraft, we're not talking dynasty, you're going to have to change things quick. And sometimes what that takes is trading away your best player. So let's say you had the number 1 pick overall. You end up with Christian McCaffrey. But after that, somehow you've drafted a stinker, and maybe you've drafted Ronald Jones in the 3rd round. I don't know why, but maybe you have. And you have no running back depth. And maybe you do got a little bit decent wideouts. You got like Mike Evans, Amari Cooper, or something like that, right? You need to be trading Christian McCaffrey. It's going to hurt you. It's going to hurt your feelings. But listen, the haul that you can bring in for Christian McCaffrey is insanity. You could pull together a trade that possibly brings you 2 running backs like Miles Sanders or an Austin Eckler or a Kenyon Drake to begin with, and then possibly another top-end wide receiver to pair along with those guys, or a third, 3 players you could possibly pull in. You can do Miles Sanders, a wide receiver like Adam Thielen mixed in there, and then possibly bring in a later round running back like David Johnson. And that is a much more well-balanced, better all-around team. Now all of a sudden you're sitting on a team that has Miles Sanders or Austin Eckler or Kenyon Drake at your running back 1. It's not Christian McCaffrey. But then you also have David Johnson as your running back 2. And you've got Amari Cooper, and you've got Mike Evans, and you've got Adam Thielen. So now you have some depth. Now you have a team that's respectable. If there's an injury, now you're not hurting to find who's going to be filling in for spots. Now you have some depth there. So, or even let's say you have one of the later picks and you don't get a top end running back, and you said instead you drafted wideout, and you're now thinking to yourself, oh, wow, I've really royally hurt my team in the running back position, and I have no depth there at all. I've seen it happen. A lot of people will go wide out, and possibly even grab a tight end in the third round. I mean, I'm not a proponent of zero running back. I think drafting a running back early is the key to success in fantasy football. But let's say you didn't see the value in drafting a running back when you could grab somebody like Devontae Adams and Tyreek Hill back to back. I see it. But here's the thing. If you want a running back, you're going to have to give up one of those two guys to get a running back. So go ahead and do it. And then on top of that, buy players that are low. So every year somebody breaks out, right? I mean, Miles Sanders, for example. If last year you put together a stinker of a team and you had Saquon Barkley, who was putting up some good points, but he was the only one that was putting up good points for you. You absolutely could have been able to trade him for Miles Sanders and AJ Brown, or Miles Sanders and DK Metcalf. And that would have been extremely serviceable for your team. That would have helped you out dramatically and would have helped you move on to possibly even your fantasy playoffs. A move like that, 1 for 2, is really big. So don't be afraid to give up those players, and don't be afraid to buy. It's a gamble. Listen, it's a big gamble, but don't be afraid to buy those players when they're low and try to improve that roster. Last year, for example, I had a team that was really struggling at tight end, and I knew that. So I went out and I traded some players around. I think it was Mark Ingram and Matt Breida for Evan Ingram, and I believe it was another running back. It was a while ago, so one of my leagues, I can't remember what the trade was, but at the end of the day, it helped me out until Evan Ingram got hurt, but it won me a couple games in the season. So something like that could really help your team out in the long run. So BroMob, don't be afraid to trade players, and don't be afraid to just put all of your players on the trading block, and just let teams come to you with offers. Just let everybody know, hey, everyone's available. Let me know what you got. So go from there. And then my next really big point here is be very diligent on the waiver wire. A lot of my closer colleagues, my closer friends, and Brian, the terrible host who's not here, will attest that the waiver wire has always been my friend. And the reason it has been that because you need to keep your eyes peeled on it at all times. And what I mean is you need to watch training camps during the preseason. During the weeks, you need to watch practices. You need to watch the injury report. You need to watch team depth charts and what's going on there. Depth charts are really telling. If a player is moving up from the third string to the second string, something has happened, and that player has now become the eye of that coach, and maybe even getting some reps in the offense this coming season. For example, if you aren't liking your wide receiver situation or your flex, let's say your flex situation isn't helping you out very much this year, Scotty Miller is a name that not a lot of people are thinking about right now. But he is the third string, probably sharing third string duties or the slot duties in Tampa Bay for Tom Brady. And if you have been watching training camps and you've been watching some of the practices that are going on, the full practices and pads, Tom Brady is throwing a lot of passes to Scotty Miller up the middle. And it's pretty telling that Tom Brady trusts Scotty Miller in that offense. So you're bound to see during matchups that have poor defensive back grades out there, poor slot defensive nickelbacks. Nickelback's terrible to begin with, the band. But if you're looking at poor nickelbacks out there or dimebacks that are out there and they can't cover worth a hoot against those slot receivers, Scotty Miller could have a couple of serviceable weeks. You just need to keep an eye on that. Keep your eye on that. Pull that player in for a couple weeks in advance because you know in 2 weeks from now he's going to be having a soft matchup. Get him in there. And then I'm going to use cojones. Have the cojones to start that player. Don't be afraid of it. Last year, Brian lost in our fantasy championship because he had Jameis Winston, and Jameis Winston without Mike Evans, without Chris Godwin, and Rashad Perriman was there as their wide receiver one. He still believed that Jameis Winston could go off. I told him, Brian, you need to go pick up Ryan Fitzpatrick. I know it's going to look ugly, but Fitzpatrick's been going off. And Devontae Parker's been going off. This team's looking good. He's got a connection with Mike Gesicki. Things are kind of going good offensively. Their defense can't stop anything, so they have to keep scoring. Didn't listen to me. He lost fantasy championship. Jameis Winston put up a dud for him. And of course, Ryan Fitzpatrick went nutty in that week 16 matchup there. So things can change. I mean, they're not the sexy names, but if you take those players and take a chance on them, they're big gambles, but they can pay off really, really high dividends for you. So, lottery tickets, I like to call them. So take a gamble on a lottery ticket because they cost you next to nothing. I mean, $1 blind bid throwing at somebody that's nobody, but yet at the same time, if you're looking at matchups, they could be somebody. So that Scotty Miller could become big. Years and years ago, players like Cecil Shorts won you championships. Players like Blake Bortles won you championships, right? I mean, these are names that nobody thinks about in fantasy relevancy, but they can win you weeks. So the waiver wire can be a big friend, and don't be afraid to trade your players. That's my two big bad. If you drafted a terrible team, my two big strategies to fixing that team almost instantaneously. And to talk a little bit more about being diligent on the waiver wire, handcuffs are worth a pickup as well. I'm not really a big person that drafts handcuffs, but if you have a team that's struggling and it's not really doing anything productive, if you can find a way to pick up Reggie Bonifant of Carolina and CMC were to go down, you instantly got a running back one, and you might even be able, before that even happens, you might even be able to trade that player away to the CMC owner. You might be able to draft somebody like AJ Dillon out there who, quite frankly, could be the touchdown leader of the Green Bay Packers. Like, you don't know what could happen there. So Aaron Jones could go down for injury. AJ Dillon comes in there. His quads are bigger than the world. And maybe 1 week he tries to have a quad off with Saquon Barkley and see who wins. So who knows? Fantasy is a weird thing. And especially this year, it's going to be so weird with COVID-19 and what's going on there. You could have players catching COVID, being out for 2 weeks, and you got these third string, fourth string players, wide receivers out there becoming the stars of the fantasy world. I mean, this is the year for that, for the waiver wire to be your friend. So this is really a big year for, if you had a bad team that you drafted, you could really turn that around. So I'm really looking forward to this year. BroMob, you should be too. I'm looking forward to our fantasy drafts this week. I cannot wait. I'm going to absolutely destroy it this year. I'm so excited. Can't wait. And I hope you are excited as well, BroMob. So guys, it's a short week. I get it, but hopefully what I've given you today helps you feel a little bit more comfortable going into your draft, feeling like this is make it or break it, because at draft day, it's really not. You win your season, you win your fantasy year through the season, week to week. So, and that's how you win games, is week to week. So fantasy draft helps you put together a base, but at the end of the day, every single week, you help improve your team. So BroMob, that's going to do it for this week's show. Be sure to tune in every Monday to stay up to date on the fantasy football world and to gather any insights on how to dominate your fantasy football leagues. Be sure to check out jointhebromob.com for any kind of support, any kind of some handouts out there, BroMob. We're looking to keep this thing rolling. We want to keep helping, and we can't do it without you. The BroMobsters out there today that are already in with us at jointhebromob.com, we want to thank you all very much for your donations. And for everybody out there who wants to donate, go and check it out today. We're going to be giving it a little bit of thought into some exclusive content in there. So be sure to check it out today. If you're not listening to us on Apple Podcasts, be sure to check out our YouTube, our Spotify, our Google Podcasts, Stitcher. We're everywhere, guys. Give us a listen wherever major podcasts are. And BroMob, don't forget to subscribe so that you have all of the brand new episodes at your queue, at your fingertips every single week. You're the first one to listen out of all your friends. See you next week, BroMob, and hopefully Brian's there too.